Losing no time, malign Tisiphone seized a torch steeped in blood, put on a robe all red with dripping gore, and wound a snake about her waist, and started from her home. And with her as she went were grief and dread, terror and madness too with frantic face. She stood upon the threshold of the palace, the door-post shook, it said, the maple doors turned pale, the sunlight fled. The monstrous sight terrified Ino, terrified Athamas. They made to leave the palace. In the entrance the baleful Fury stood and barred their way, stretching her arms entwined with tangled snakes, and shaking out her hair. The snakes, dislodged, gave hissing sounds. Some crawled upon her shoulders. Some, gliding round her bosom, vomited a slime of venom, flickering their tongues and hissing horribly. Then from her hair she tore out two, and with a doom-charged aim darted them down the breasts of Athamas and Ino, winding, twisting. They exhaled their noisome breath, yet never any wound to see. The fateful fangs affect their minds. Tisiphone brought with her poisons too of magic power, lip froth of Cerberus, the hydra's venom, wild deliriums, blindnesses of the brain, and crime and tears, and maddened lust for murder, all ground up, mixed with fresh blood, boiled in a pan of bronze and stirred with a green hemlock stick. And while they shuddered there, she poured the poisoned brew, that broth of madness, over both their breasts, right down into their hearts. Then round and round she waved her torch, fire following brandished fire, and so her task accomplished, victory won, back to great Pluto's realm of wraiths she went, and loosed the snake she'd fastened round her waist. Then raving through the palace, Athamas shouted, "Here in this copse, friends, spread the nets. I've seen a lioness with her two cubs," and in his madness hunting her, tracked down his wife and snatched Learchus from her arms, his little laughing son with hands outstretched, and like a slinger whirled him round and round, and wildly smashed the baby's head against a granite block. And then his mother, crazed by grief or by the sprinkled poison's power, screamed madly, and with streaming hair rushed out with tiny Melicerta in her arms, and shouted, "Bacchus, Bacchus!" At the name of Bacchus Juno smiled. "Well done, the brat you fostered, to bestow a boon like that." A cliff hung by the shore. The bottom part was hollowed by the waves and formed a roof to shield the waters from the storms. The top stood hard and high and faced the open sea. Here Ino climbed, her madness gave her strength, and with her burden launched herself, unchecked by any thought of fear, out and away, and where she fell the waves were white with spray. But Venus, pitying her grandchild's woes, so undeserved, addressed with winning words her uncle, Lord of waters, whose power yields to heaven alone, great Neptune, what I ask is much indeed, but pity those I love, now tossing in the vast Ionian sea, and make them gods to join your company. I too should find some favor with the sea, for in its holy depths, in days gone by, from sea foam I was formed, and still from foam I take my name in Greece. Her prayer was granted. Neptune removed their mortal essences, clothed them in majesty and awe, and changed features and names alike, the boy to be Palamon, and his mother Leucothoe. Ino's attendants, following her tracks at their best speed, saw her last footprints there at the cliff's edge. Not doubting of her death, they mourned the house of Cadmus, beat their breasts and tore their hair and garments. They reviled Juno for her injustice and her rage too cruel to her rival. Such abuse the goddess would not stand. "You'll be," said she, "the best memorials of my cruelty." Deeds followed words. The most devoted girl cried, "I shall join my queen amid the waves," and tried to leap, but could not move at all, and stood fixed fast upon the cliff. Another, trying to beat her bosom as before, found her arms locked and stiff. One who had stretched her hands toward the waves, now turned to stone, still stretches out her hands towards the waves. One, as she reached to tear her hair, you'd see suddenly the fingers in her hair set hard. Each in whatever gesture she was caught, so she was fixed, and some were changed to birds. And so the Theban women still today skim on their wings the waters of the bay.